Today, we are going to talk about the full history of computers. Computers are everywhere today. We use them for studying, working, watching videos, playing games, creating content, talking to people, learning English, running businesses, and even exploring space. But computers did not become powerful in one day. The computer has a long and amazing history. It started from simple counting tools, then became mechanical machines, then electronic machines, then personal computers, laptops, smartphones, and now artificial intelligence. This story is not only about machines, it is about human intelligence. It is about people who wanted to calculate faster, solve problems better, store information, and make life easier. Watch this video till the end, because you will understand how the modern computer was born, how it changed the world, and why it is one of the greatest inventions in human history. This video will also help you practice English. Listen carefully, learn new vocabulary, and try to repeat important sentences. If you enjoy educational videos in simple English, subscribe to this channel, like this video, and keep learning with us every day. Part 1. The beginning of computing. Before computers existed, humans still needed to count, calculate, and solve problems. People needed numbers for farming, trade, money, building, time, stars, and business. In ancient times, people counted using fingers, stones, marks on wood, and simple tools. One of the earliest counting tools was the abacus. The abacus was a simple frame with beads. People moved the beads to add, subtract, multiply, and divide numbers. It may look simple today, but at that time it was very powerful. The abacus helped people calculate faster than counting only with fingers. This was the first big idea in computer history. Humans wanted tools that could help the mind. A computer is basically a machine that helps humans process information. So the story of computers begins with the human need to calculate. After many centuries, people started creating more advanced calculating machines. In the 1600s, a scientist named Blaise Pascal created a mechanical calculator called Pascaline. This machine could add and subtract numbers. It used wheels and gears. When one wheel moved, it could move another wheel, just like numbers changing in a counter. This was important because it showed that machines could do mathematical work. Later, Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz improved the idea of mechanical calculation. He created a machine that could add, subtract, multiply, and divide. This was another important step. Slowly, people began to believe that machines could do more than simple counting. They could help with complex calculations. But one of the most important people in early computer history was Charles Babbage. Charles Babbage was an English mathematician. In the 1800s, he designed a machine called the difference engine. The difference engine was made to calculate mathematical tables. At that time, mathematical tables were very important for science, navigation, engineering, and business. But humans made many mistakes while calculating them by hand. Babbage wanted to create a machine that could reduce mistakes. His idea was powerful because he wanted a machine that could calculate automatically. Later, Babbage designed an even more advanced machine called the analytical engine. This machine was never fully built in his lifetime, but the idea was revolutionary. The analytical engine had many ideas that modern computers still use today. It had a memory system. It had a processing unit. It could follow instructions. It could use punched cards to receive commands. Because of this, Charles Babbage is often called the father of the computer. But there was another important person in this story. Her name was Ada Lovelace. Ada Lovelace studied Babbage's analytical engine and understood that it could do more than just calculate numbers. She believed that a machine could follow instructions and solve different types of problems. She wrote an algorithm for the machine. Because of this, Ada Lovelace is often called the first computer programmer. This is very important. Before modern computers existed, Ada Lovelace had already imagined that machines could do more than mathematics. She understood that computers could process symbols, instructions, and ideas. That thinking was far ahead of her time. So in the first part of computer history, we learn something powerful. The computer did not begin as a laptop or a smartphone. It began as a simple human dream. The dream to calculate faster, the dream to reduce mistakes, the dream to build a machine that could help the human mind. From the abacus to mechanical calculators, from Pascal to Leibniz, from Charles Babbage to Ada Lovelace, every step helped create the foundation of modern computing. These early machines were not like today's computers. They were slow. They were mechanical. They were difficult to build. But they introduced the most important idea. A machine can follow instructions and help humans solve problems. That idea changed the future forever. Part 2. From punch cards to the first electronic computers. After the ideas of Charles Babbage and Ada Lovelace, the next big step in computer history came from a very simple but powerful idea. Punch cards. A punch card was a piece of stiff paper with holes in it. The holes represented information. Today, this may sound very old-fashioned, but at that time it was revolutionary. Before digital screens, keyboards, and memory chips, punch cards were one of the best ways to give instructions to machines. The idea of punch cards was first used in weaving machines. A French inventor named Joseph-Marie Jacquard created a loom that used punched cards to control patterns in cloth. This machine could make complex designs automatically. The machine did not think like a modern computer, but it followed instructions from cards. This was a very important idea. A machine could be controlled by stored instructions. This same idea later influenced computing. Then, in the late 1800s, punch cards became very important in data processing. In the United States, the government had a huge problem. The population was growing, and counting census information by hand was becoming very slow. A census means counting people and collecting information about them. The 1880 U.S. Census took years to process, so a man named Herman Hollerith created a machine that used punch cards to count and organize census data faster. His machine could read holes in cards and process information much faster than human workers. This was a major moment in computer history. For the first time, machines were not only calculating numbers, they were also helping store, read, and process large amounts of information. Hollerith's invention became very successful. His company later became part of what we know today as IBM. IBM would later become one of the most important companies in computer history. This shows us something important. Computers did not become powerful only because of science. They also became powerful because society needed them. Governments needed faster data processing. Businesses needed faster accounting. Scientists needed faster calculations. Military organizations needed faster problem solving. The world was becoming more complex, and people needed machines that could handle more information. In the early 1900s, computing machines became more advanced. Many machines were electromechanical. This means they used both electricity and mechanical parts. They had switches, wires, gears, relays, and moving parts. These machines were faster than older mechanical calculators, but they were still slow compared to modern computers. One important machine was the Harvard Mark I. It was built in the 1940s with help from IBM and Harvard University. The Harvard Mark I was huge. It was about the size of a room. It had thousands of parts. It used electromechanical relays. It could perform calculations automatically, but it was not fast like modern computers. A simple calculation that a modern phone can do instantly could take much longer on machines like this. Still, the Harvard Mark I was important because it showed that large automatic calculating machines could help science, engineering, and military work. Around the same time, the world was going through the Second World War. War is terrible, but it also pushed technology forward very quickly. During the war, countries needed machines to solve difficult problems. They needed to calculate missile paths. They needed to break secret codes. They needed to design weapons. They needed to process information quickly. This created huge pressure to build faster computers. One of the most famous stories from this period is connected with Alan Turing. Alan Turing was a brilliant British mathematician. He worked on code breaking during the Second World War. Germany used a machine called Enigma to send secret messages. These messages were extremely difficult to understand without the correct settings. Turing and other code breakers at Bletchley Park helped develop machines and methods to break these codes. This work helped the Allies understand important military messages. Alan Turing also gave very important ideas about computing. Before modern computers were common, he imagined a theoretical machine that could follow instructions and solve problems step by step. This idea became very important in computer science. Because of his work, Turing is remembered as one of the fathers of modern computing. At the same time, another important machine was built in Britain. It was called Colossus. Colossus was used to help break secret German messages. It was one of the first electronic digital computers. It used vacuum tubes instead of mechanical relays. This made it much faster than electromechanical machines. Vacuum tubes were glass tubes that could control electric signals. They were like early electronic switches. Modern computers use tiny electronic switches called transistors. But before transistors, computers used vacuum tubes. Vacuum tubes made computers faster, but they had problems. They were large. They became very hot. They used a lot of electricity. They could burn out easily. But they were still a huge step forward because they allowed machines to process information electronically. In the United States, another famous computer was created. It was called ENIAC. ENIAC stands for Electronic Numerical Integrator and Computer. It was completed in the 1940s. ENIAC was one of the first general-purpose electronic computers. General purpose means it could be used for different kinds of calculations, not only one fixed job. ENIAC was enormous. It filled a large room. It used thousands of vacuum tubes. It needed a lot of electricity. It produced a lot of heat. But it was much faster than earlier machines. ENIAC could perform calculations in seconds that might take humans many hours or even days. This was a turning point. For the first time, people saw the real power of electronic computing. But ENIAC also had a problem. Programming it was difficult. To change its instructions, people had to manually connect wires and adjust switches. It was not like today, where we type code and run a program. Programming early computers required physical work. This is why the next big idea was so important. The stored program concept. A stored program computer can store instructions in its memory. This means the computer does not need to be rewired every time it does a new task. It can read instructions from memory and follow them. This idea became one of the most important foundations of modern computers. A scientist and mathematician named John von Neumann helped describe this type of computer design. This design is often called the von Neumann architecture. In simple words, it means a computer has memory, a processing unit, input, output, and instructions stored inside the machine. Most modern computers still follow this basic idea. You give input through a keyboard, mouse, microphone, or touchscreen. The computer stores data in memory. The processor works on the data. Then the computer gives output through a screen, speaker, printer, or another device. This basic pattern came from early computer design. After ENIAC, more stored program computers were developed. Machines like EDVAC, EDSAC, and UNIVAC helped move computing forward. UNIVAC became famous because it was one of the first commercial computers. Commercial means it was made for business and public use, not only military or research work. This was another major shift. Computers were no longer only experimental machines. They were slowly entering government, business, and industry. But these early computers were still very expensive. They were huge. They needed special rooms. They needed trained operators. They were not for ordinary people. A normal person could not own a computer. Only big organizations, universities, governments, and large companies could use them. Still, the foundation was ready. Computers could now process information electronically. They could follow stored instructions. They could solve complex calculations. They could help science, business, war, and government. This period changed the meaning of computing forever. In the beginning, computers were just tools for calculation. But now they were becoming information machines. They could store data. They could process data. They could follow programs. They could solve many types of problems. This was the beginning of modern computing. The most important lesson from this part of history is this. Computers became powerful because humans kept improving one idea after another. Punch cards taught machines how to follow instructions. Hollerith's machine showed that data could be processed faster. Electromechanical machines showed that automatic calculation was possible. World War II pushed scientists to build faster machines. Alan Turing gave deep ideas about computation. Colossus and ENIAC proved the power of electronic computing. The stored program concept gave computers the ability to become flexible and useful for many tasks. These machines were not small. They were not beautiful. They were not easy to use. But they changed the future. They took computers from imagination into reality. Part 3. The Transistor Revolution, Microchips, and the Birth of Personal Computers. The next big revolution in computer history began with a tiny invention that changed the entire world. That invention was the transistor. Before transistors, computers used vacuum tubes. Vacuum tubes made early computers faster than mechanical machines, but they had many problems. They were large. They became extremely hot. They used a lot of electricity. They broke easily. They made computers huge, expensive, and difficult to maintain. A computer could fill an entire room, but it was still less powerful than a small device today. Then, in 1947, scientists at Bell Labs invented the transistor. This was one of the most important inventions in modern history. A transistor is a small electronic device that can control the flow of electricity. In simple words, it works like a tiny switch. It can turn electrical signals on and off. And computers are built from millions, billions, and now even trillions of these tiny switching actions. The transistor changed everything because it was much smaller than a vacuum tube. It used less electricity. It produced less heat. It was more reliable. It lasted longer. And it made computers faster and smaller. This was the beginning of the second generation of computers. Computers built with transistors became more practical than earlier machines. They were still large and expensive, but they were much better than vacuum tube computers. Universities, governments, banks, and large companies started using computers more seriously. Computers began helping with scientific research, business data, banking, weather prediction, engineering, and military work. But computers were still not for ordinary people. A normal family could not buy a computer. A student could not keep a computer on a desk. A small shop owner could not use one easily. Computers were still mostly used by big organizations. Then came another major invention: the integrated circuit. An integrated circuit is also called a microchip. Before microchips, electronic circuits were made by connecting separate transistors, wires, and parts. This took space. It was complicated. It was expensive. But the microchip changed that. A microchip allowed many electronic components to be placed on one small piece of material. This made computers even smaller, faster, cheaper, and more reliable. This was a huge step. Now, instead of building computers with many separate parts, engineers could put many parts together on one chip. This created the third generation of computers. Computers became more powerful. They became smaller. They became more dependable. They could perform more tasks. They could run better programs. They could be used in more industries. This also helped software grow. Software means the instructions and programs that tell the computer what to do. In the early days, programming was difficult. People had to use machine language or very complex instructions. But slowly, programming languages became easier. Languages like Fortran, COBOL, BASIC, and later C helped humans write programs more easily. This was important because a computer is not useful only because of its hardware. Hardware is the physical machine. Software is what gives the machine purpose. Without software, a computer is just electronic parts. With software, it can calculate, write, store information, play media, connect people, and solve problems. During this time, operating systems also became important. An operating system is the main software that helps users and programs work with the computer. It manages memory. It manages files. It manages input and output. It helps different programs run. Modern systems like Windows, Mac OS, Linux, Android, and iOS all come from this basic idea. The next huge step came with the microprocessor. A microprocessor is like the brain of a computer placed on a single chip. Before microprocessors, the processing unit of a computer needed many parts. But a microprocessor put the central processing power into one small chip. This changed the future completely. The microprocessor made it possible to build smaller computers. Not room-sized computers. Not only company computers, but personal computers. A personal computer means a computer that one person can use. This was a revolutionary idea. Before this, computers were mostly shared by many users in universities or companies. But now the dream was different. A computer could sit on a desk. A normal person could use it. A student could learn with it. A writer could type with it. A business owner could manage work with it. A programmer could create new software with it. In the 1970s and 1980s, personal computers started becoming popular. Companies like Apple, IBM, Microsoft, and others played major roles in this period. Apple helped bring computers closer to ordinary users. The Apple II became one of the early successful personal computers. It was useful for education, small businesses, and home users. Then IBM released the IBM PC in the early 1980s. The IBM PC became very important because it created a standard for personal computers. Many other companies started making computers compatible with IBM PCs. This helped personal computers spread more widely. At the same time, Microsoft became very important in software. Microsoft created operating systems and software that helped people use computers more easily. MS-DOS was used in early personal computers. Later, Windows became one of the most famous operating systems in the world. Windows made computers easier for ordinary people because users did not have to type only text commands. They could use a graphical interface. A graphical interface means you can see icons, windows, buttons, and menus on the screen. This was a big change. Earlier, using a computer required technical knowledge. People needed to type commands. They needed to understand exact instructions. But graphical interfaces made computers more visual and easier to use. You could click an icon, open a file, move a mouse, use menus. This made computers friendly for students, office workers, writers, designers, and families. Another company that changed the way people use computers was Apple. Apple introduced the Macintosh in 1984. The Macintosh was famous for its graphical user interface and mouse-based control. It helped show that computers could be creative tools, not only calculation machines. People could use computers for writing, drawing, designing, publishing, and learning. This was a powerful change in computer history. Computers were no longer only machines for scientists and businesses. They were becoming tools for creativity, education, communication, and personal productivity. During this period, computer storage also improved. Early computers used punch cards, magnetic tapes, and large storage systems. Later, floppy disks became common. A floppy disk was a small, removable storage device. People used it to save files, transfer programs, and store documents. Then hard drives became more common. A hard drive could store much more data inside the computer. This changed how people worked. They could save documents, install programs, store information, keep records, create digital files. Printers also became common. People could type documents on computers and print them on paper. This changed offices and schools. Before computers, many people used typewriters. A typewriter could type text on paper, but editing was difficult. If you made a mistake, correcting it was not easy. But with a computer, you could type, edit, delete, copy, paste, save, and print. This made work much faster. Word processing became one of the most important uses of personal computers. Programs like Microsoft Word helped people write letters, reports, books, and documents. Spreadsheets also became very important. A spreadsheet is a program that organizes data in rows and columns. It can calculate numbers automatically. This was powerful for businesses, banks, accountants, teachers, and managers. Programs like VisiCalc, Lotus 1, 2, 3, and later Microsoft Excel changed business work forever. Before spreadsheets, many calculations were done by hand. Now people could change one number, and the computer could update many calculations instantly. This saved time and reduced mistakes. Computers also entered education. Schools started teaching computer basics. Students learned typing. They learned simple programming. They used educational software. They played learning games. They started understanding that computers would be part of the future. This was important because a new generation grew up with computers. Computers also changed entertainment. Early computer games became popular. Games showed that computers were not only for serious work, they could also be used for fun, creativity, and imagination. This helped computers enter homes more quickly. Families bought computers not only for work, but also for learning and entertainment. By the late 1980s and 1990s, computers were becoming more common in homes and offices. They were still expensive compared to today, but they were much more accessible than before. This period changed human life in a deep way. People started storing information digitally. Businesses started depending on computers. Students started learning with computers. Writers started writing on computers. Designers started designing on computers. Scientists started using computers for research. And programmers started creating software that would shape the future. But one of the biggest changes was still coming. Computers were powerful when they worked alone. But they became even more powerful when they could connect with each other. This idea led to computer networks. A computer network means connecting computers so they can share information. At first, networks were used in universities, research centers, military systems, and large companies. Computers connected through networks could send data from one place to another. This was the beginning of a new age, the age of connected computing. Before networks, a computer was like an isolated machine. It could help one person or one organization. But when computers became connected, information could travel across distance. People could share files, send messages, access remote systems, work together. This idea would later grow into the internet, and the internet would change the world more than anyone could imagine. So part 3 of computer history is the story of shrinking power. Computers went from giant machines to smaller systems, from vacuum tubes to transistors, from transistors to microchips, from microchips to microprocessors, from business machines to personal computers, from command lines to graphical screens, from isolated machines to connected networks. This period made computers practical for ordinary people. It moved computers from research labs into homes, offices, schools, and businesses. And it prepared the world for the next great revolution, the Internet age. Because once computers became personal, the next question was clear. What happens when all these computers connect together? That question would create the digital world we live in today. Part 4. The Internet age, smartphones, artificial intelligence, and the future of computers. When computers became personal, they changed homes, schools, offices, and businesses. But the real revolution began when computers started connecting with each other. This connection created the digital world we live in today. Before the internet became popular, most computers worked alone. A person could type a document, save files, play games, or use software, but the information usually stayed inside one computer. If people wanted to share files, they used floppy disks, CDs, or other storage devices. Then computer networks started growing. A network means computers are connected so they can share information. At first, networks were used by universities, research centers, military organizations, and large companies. These networks helped people send data, share research, and communicate faster. One important early network was ARPANET. ARPANET helped create the foundation for the modern Internet. It showed that computers in different places could communicate with each other. Slowly, this idea became bigger. People started imagining a world where information could travel from one computer to another across long distances. Then came the World Wide Web. The Internet is the global network of connected computers. The World Wide Web is the system that allows people to use websites, links, pages, images, and browsers. The web made the Internet easy for ordinary people. Now people could open a browser, visit websites, click links, read information, send emails, and connect with others. This changed the world. Information was no longer limited to books, libraries, offices, or classrooms. A student could search for knowledge. A teacher could share lessons. A business could sell products online. A writer could publish articles. A creator could share videos. The computer became a window to the world. In the 1990s, the Internet started becoming popular. At first, Internet speed was very slow. Many people used dial-up connections through telephone lines. Pages loaded slowly, and videos were difficult to watch. But even then, people were amazed. They could send emails. They could visit websites. They could chat with people. They could search for information. Email became one of the first powerful uses of the Internet because people could send messages across the world in seconds. Then search engines became important. As more websites appeared, people needed a way to find information. Search engines helped users search the web by typing words or questions. This changed learning forever. For English learners, computers and the Internet became very useful. People could watch English videos, listen to podcasts, use online dictionaries, join classes, read articles, practice pronunciation, and learn from teachers around the world. This made computers powerful learning tools. Then online business grew. People started buying and selling products through websites. Digital payments, online shopping, online banking, and online services became common. Businesses started depending on computers for communication, marketing, sales, customer service, accounting, and data storage. Computers became the heart of modern business. The Internet also changed entertainment. Music, movies, games, and videos moved online. People could watch videos, listen to songs, play online games, and share content with the world. This created new careers like YouTubers, bloggers, online teachers, digital marketers, app developers, and content creators. Then came another major revolution: the smartphone. A smartphone is like a powerful computer in your pocket. Before smartphones, people mostly used desktop computers and laptops. Phones were mainly used for calling and texting, but smartphones changed everything. A smartphone became a phone, camera, music player, video player, map, browser, notebook, gaming device, learning tool, and payment device in one. Now people could use computers anywhere. They could learn English while traveling. They could attend online classes. They could create videos. They could send messages. They could use apps for banking, shopping, health, education, and entertainment. Smartphones made computing more personal than ever before. Apps also changed the way people used computers. An app is a program made for a specific purpose. There are apps for learning, editing, shopping, banking, fitness, food delivery, transport, social media, and language practice. Apps made technology easier because people did not need deep computer knowledge. They could simply open an app and use it. Then cloud computing became important. Cloud computing means storing and using data through the internet instead of keeping everything only on one device. For example, you can save a file online and open it later from your phone, laptop, or another computer. Cloud computing helped online education, video meetings, social media, streaming, business systems, and remote work. It also helped companies store large amounts of data and run services without keeping everything on local computers. As more people used computers and the internet, data became very important. Every search, click, message, video, purchase, and online activity can create data. This is called big data. Companies use data to understand people's behavior, improve services, recommend videos, show products, and make decisions. But this also created serious questions. Who owns our data? How is our data used? Is our privacy safe? Because of this, cybersecurity became very important. Cybersecurity means protecting computers, networks, accounts, and data from hackers and attacks. As the world became digital, online safety became necessary. Then came artificial intelligence, also called AI. AI means computers can perform tasks that normally need human intelligence. AI can understand language, recognize voices, translate text, recommend videos, answer questions, create images, help doctors, analyze data, and support learning. AI became powerful because computers became faster, data became larger, and software became smarter. Today, AI is used in education, business, medicine, banking, security, search engines, social media, and content creation. For English learners, AI can be very helpful. It can correct grammar. It can explain difficult words. It can help with pronunciation. It can create practice questions. It can help people speak, write, and learn better. But AI must be used wisely. If students only copy from AI, they do not learn properly. But if they use AI to understand, practice, and improve, it becomes a powerful learning tool. Computers also change science and medicine. Scientists use supercomputers to solve very complex problems. Supercomputers help with weather prediction, climate research, space exploration, medicine, physics, and advanced research. Hospitals use computers for patient records, scans, reports, surgery, diagnosis, and medical research. Computers also help in space missions, satellites, rockets, and planetary exploration. Modern life depends on computers more than we realize. Computers are not only on desks. They are inside cars, watches, TVs, cameras, ATMs, washing machines, airplanes, hospitals, factories, and smart homes. This is called embedded computing. It means small computers are hidden inside everyday objects. Another modern idea is the Internet of Things. This means everyday devices can connect to the Internet. Smart watches, smart lights, smart speakers, smart cameras, and smart home devices can collect information and respond to users. This makes life easier, but it also makes privacy and security more important. Now computers are moving toward the future. The future may include more advanced AI, smarter robots, quantum computers, virtual reality, augmented reality, and more powerful learning tools. Quantum computers may solve some problems much faster than normal computers. Virtual reality can create digital worlds. Augmented reality can add digital information to the real world. These technologies may change education, gaming, medicine, design, training, and communication. But the most important lesson is this: computers are powerful, but humans must use them wisely. A computer can help you learn, create, work, communicate, and grow. But it can also waste your time if you use it without purpose. A phone can become your classroom, or it can become your biggest distraction. The choice is yours. The history of computers is one of the most amazing stories in human history. It started with simple counting tools. Then came mechanical calculators. Then punch cards. Then huge electronic computers. Then transistors. Then microchips. Then personal computers. Then the internet. Then smartphones. Then cloud computing. Then artificial intelligence. And today, computers are everywhere. They are in our homes, schools, offices, hospitals, cars, banks, phones, and even in space. Computers change the way humans learn, work, communicate, create, and solve problems. But behind every computer, there is human imagination. People asked questions. People solved problems. People created new ideas. People failed, tried again, and built better machines. That is how computer history moved forward. So when you use a computer or smartphone today, remember this journey. It is not just a machine. It is a door to knowledge, creativity, communication, English learning, skills, and opportunities. Use technology wisely. Use it to learn. Use it to practice. Use it to create. Use it to build your future. Because the computer is one of the greatest tools humans have ever created. And the future of computers is still being written.